Following Selection Sunday, I think Nebraska and Wisconsin have the best path for a deep run, and the ladies of Iowa have a brutal bracket. I'll tell you why I think all this. Coming up here, Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And these days, every new potential hire could feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. We're going to go dancing through the bracket right here, men's and women's. And is John Beilein coming back to Michigan? Plus 12, our top 10 observations over the weekend. Let's get into it and chop it up a little bit, shall we? Let's start with the men in the NCAA tournament. Of course, 6 teams getting in for the Big Ten. Purdue, a number 1 seed out of the Midwest. Congratulations to them, the regular season champs. UConn in the East, Houston in the South, and North Carolina number 1 in the West. Let's look at the East here. Of course, UConn, number 1 team. Waiting for them will be the winner of the 8-9 game that features number 8 seed Florida Atlantic with their head coach, Dusty May. We all know about their run last year. Of course, he was also a former manager for Bob Knight at IU and has some Big Ten background as well. But his team will be taking on Big Ten team Northwestern. And the Wildcats get the number 9 seed. And that game will be Friday, March 22nd in Brooklyn in New York. So, look, the East also features the number 3 seed and Big Ten tournament champion Illinois. By the way, congratulations to them for fighting through the tournament and winning on Sunday. Illinois taking on the 14 seed Morehead State. The Fighting Illini's Terrence Shannon Jr. He's had a pretty remarkable year. He's had problems off the court, legal problems. He is the hottest player in the country right now. He scored 74 points in his last 2 games of the Big Ten tournament. He's on fire. So this game tips off Thursday, March 21st at Omaha, Nebraska. In the South, got the number 1 seed Houston. And should they get by Longwood, they'll play the winner of the number 8 seed Nebraska Cornhuskers and the 9 seed Texas A&M. Those two go at it. Nebraska had an amazing season led by Fred Hoiberg and their shooting sensation, Keisei Tominaga, who is just phenomenal, and he's red hot right now. Nebraska, by the way, is the only Power 5 to never win an NCAA tournament game. Hopefully that streak will come to an end right here. The Huskers and the Aggies play Friday in Memphis, Tennessee. Also in this same bracket is 5 seed Wisconsin and 12 seed James Madison. There's always an upset with the 5-12. Hopefully not here. James Madison, though, is a 30-win team, so they're not to be taken lightly. They went 31-3 this year. Meanwhile, the Badgers, what happened? They were in a slump for about a month, couldn't hit the side of the barn. They started hitting their threes in the Big Ten tournament and made it all the way to the championship game. It was a phenomenal run by them. So congratulations to them. They did fall short to Illinois on Sunday. Wisconsin and James Madison tip on Friday, the 22nd in Brooklyn. Now, let's get to the Boilermakers of Purdue. They get a virtual home date on Friday in nearby Indianapolis. And they await the winner of the play-in game between Montana State and Grambling State. The Boilermakers were the regular season conference champions, but they fell short in the tournament against Wisconsin in Saturday's semifinal. But you know what? That could be an advantage because it gives them a couple of extra days here. It gives them an additional day of rest because they were out a day early in the tournament, and they don't have to play till Friday on the other side. So Matt Painter's Boilermakers should be pretty rested for this game coming up this week. All right. Out west, the top seed in the West, the Tar Heels, North Carolina. They play the winner of Howard versus Wagner in that matchup, and then they'll take on the winner of the 8th seed Mississippi versus 9 seed Michigan State. Spartans get in. They were a bubble team. They earned their way in. Good job, Tom Izzo and company. That game will be Thursday in Charlotte. And congratulations, by the way, to Tom Izzo, because now, despite being on the bubble, and it looked like just a few weeks ago, they weren't going to get in because he had a 25-year streak of making the NCAA tournament. Well, it's now 26. So congratulations to Izzo and company, as they will appear in their 26th straight NCAA tournament. It's incredible. All right, so that's everybody from the men and where they are, locations, dates, and all that stuff. Now, let me give you the thumbnail or the 30,000-foot view of this whole thing. Let's start with the Illinois Fighting Illini, hottest team in the Big Ten right now, and they're in the East region with number 1 seed UConn. And many think that UConn is the best, most balanced team in the country. And they might be right. They're really good. I think they're just about everybody's favorite to win the whole thing. So Illinois is in that bracket. Illinois may also be drained a little bit, having to play the Big Ten title game on Sunday. And look, by the way, I think that the Big Ten's going to have to look at this year in and year out. They always play their championship game on Sunday. I think they should really consider moving it back to Saturday to give their champions an extra day of rest instead of getting right into it with the NCAA tournament. Let's say the Big Ten hasn't had a lot of success as far as winning championships, making it all the way through March Madness. Maybe they're a little tired. Maybe that's could help them out just a little bit. Just a thought, put it out there. And plus, not only did Illinois play on Sunday, they've got to play on Thursday, not Friday. So they have a very short week. A little concerned for Illinois there. Northwestern is in that same region, and it's going to be a tough region to get out of. But Boo Buie and company, look, they're pretty streaky. They get streaky at the right time. They're going to be a very entertaining team. Country will love watching them play. Maybe they could get it rolling here. Now, I told you at the beginning, I think Nebraska and Wisconsin, they're in the South, where Houston's the top seed. And look, they got the easiest path forward out of all the Big Ten teams. That doesn't mean any of them are easy. This is hard. I'm trying to figure, who's got the best path and whatnot. I think Nebraska is built for a run. And I think the Badgers could be a little drained, going all the way to the Big Ten championship as well. A little emotional. They're streaky as well, but they're on the good side of streaky right now. Wisconsin's hot. They are red hot, man, with their 3-point shooting. It is incredible. But in addition to Houston, this region is filled with Duke and Kentucky. Kentucky hasn't been at full strength all year, but they're kind of getting there right now. Marquette, Florida, which tragically lost their center just a couple of minutes into the SEC championship game with the leg injury. That they're going to have to overcome that. That was tough to see, man. That was tough. All brackets are tough, though, and this one's manageable. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying Nebraska and Wisconsin are in the most manageable of the 4 regions. They're all tough. You got to win your games. They're all tough, no matter where you're at. And back to Purdue for a second. Look, Purdue, they really, really need to make a deep run in this tournament to stave off any naysayers who say they can't win in March. And they didn't help their cause by not winning the Big Ten tournament either. But we'll see how they do in this. Their bracket is full of people like Gonzaga and Kansas. Kansas is banged up, maybe an advantage for Purdue, especially with one of their bigs, Dickinson. Tricky South Carolina team who has had some very quality wins this year. Creighton is always tough as nails. Texas and Tennessee are all in this bracket as well. And then Michigan State is out west with North Carolina, St. Mary's from the WCC, and Alabama, who can just score a billion points. Baylor and Arizona. Arizona is one of the best teams in the country as well. So those are some pretty tough spots for all the Big Ten teams, but we'll see. There's always upsets. People get knocked out of the way. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you. Call your shot now, the beginning of the week, before we start. I know you're filling out your brackets. Let us know what you think. You can hit us up on Twitter at Talk Big Ten, or our website, or on YouTube as well. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. In the women's tournament, top seeded Iowa, they got a tough path. They got a really tough path. And will John Beilein come back to Ann Arbor to coach Michigan? What do you think? Maybe. He might be open to it. All that coming up in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. And just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. And I'm talking about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Undefeated at home in Big Ten play this year. Now, gotten to the big show. They've never won a game in the NCAA tournament. They are poised and ready to go. This is as good as they've been. They've got a great shot, a team that is built for this, momentum going into the Big Ten, or going into the NCAA tournament. And they say, win life, go rogue. And that's exactly what the Huskers have done here. Going to talk about, obviously, the Nissan Rogue, one of the great products at Nissan. You take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, the Nissan Armada, and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. That's NissanUSA.com. And I want to tell you about Fire TV. It's a destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV and provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV, whether it's opening weekend of baseball, which is coming up, or the college basketball tournament. You're going to want to have a Fire TV. And Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. And that includes us here at Locked On and Locked On Big Ten and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep you up to date on the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking shows. If that's your thing, that's all there too. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. That's amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. All right, I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. By the way, we just had our 1 millionth viewer on YouTube. Thank you. Thank you. About over 915,000 since we took over this channel this last summer. Thank you very much. Especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. All right, before we look into the women's basketball bracket, two thoughts on the men and some coaching situations going on. First of all, this was going into the weekend. We were glad to see that the interim Buckeyes basketball coach, Jake Diebler, he's no longer the interim coach. They took interim off, and he's now the head coach. Got a 5-year deal from brand new incoming athletic director Ross Bjork, and I think that's well earned. Obviously, the school fired Chris Holtmann a little more than a month ago during the season. And Bjork's a new AD, man. He wanted to come in and make a big splash, interview some big name people, coaches with experience, he said he wanted. And in the end, I think he made the right move. You always consider guys like Dusty May and Sean Miller, who would have been great hires, but you couldn't ignore what Diebler did. Diebler took a team over at 14-11 that hadn't won on the road in a year. And then they went out and beat number 2 Purdue. And they won 6 out of 7 games in one stretch, including the opening round of the Big Ten tournament versus Iowa. You can't look away from that. And he got the job. So congratulations. Also over the weekend, the inevitable at Michigan happened. And they fired Juwan Howard after a 24-loss season, worst season in Michigan history. We, of course, saw the writing on the wall. We don't champion it or call for anybody to lose a job. We just know how this works. And so we talked about it a lot here on Lockdown Big Ten. And we also wondered aloud if John Beilein would ever consider coming back. He was the coach before Juwan Howard and did a pretty good job as the head coach in Ann Arbor. And he left only because he wanted to take a shot at coaching in the NBA. That did not work out. So a lot of people were pretty dismissive about the suggestion. Beilein's not going to, he's 71 years old. College athletics has changed tremendously since he was last a basketball coach there, 6 years ago. Now we have NIL and transfer portals. He didn't have to deal with any of these headaches before. And now would he want to jump in at his age and start this fresh and new? I don't know. I think this deserves a follow-up. And there's at least one report out there that said Beilein would be open to consider coming back. Throw it out there. Keep an eye on it. All right. The NCAA women's bracket is out as well. And Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes, along with South Carolina, USC, and Texas, have earned number 1 seeds for the women. The Hawkeyes open up against the winner of Holy Cross versus UT Martin. UCLA, Angel Reese, and LSU, the team that beat them in the championship game last year, and Kansas State are all the top 4 seeds in that bracket for Iowa. Ouch. That's a tough bracket. Nobody did Iowa any favors this year. South Carolina leads Regional 1 in Albany with the top seed, and the 8-9 game features the 8th-seeded Tar Heels versus the 9th-seed Michigan State Spartans, so that could be a matchup there. In the same bracket, number 4 seed Indiana plays number 13 seed Fairfield, as well as 6 seed Nebraska and Texas A&M. So that Regional 1 in Albany is loaded with Big Ten teams in the women's tournament. Texas is the number 1 seed in Regional 4 in Portland. Number 10 seed Maryland is in the same region and will play at Iowa State, or against number 7 seed Iowa State. USC is the number 1 seed in Regional 3 in Portland, and that's where you're going to find number 9 seed Michigan playing number 8 seed Kansas, as well as number 2 seed the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they take on 15 seed Maine. So there you have it. We've covered the gamut. All the Big Ten teams, the 6 men's teams, the 7 women's teams, all in the NCAA tournament, getting ready to start. It's a very exciting time. Always looking for your reaction on comments on Twitter at TalkBig10, YouTube, and, of course, our website, TalkBig10, 10.com. And don't forget, the Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown Show is now available on Locked On College Basketball podcast there. The experts Andy Patton and Isaac Shade will break down their brackets and discuss everything you want to know, help you fill it out so you can look good at the office, as they say, at the old water cooler. So they'll help you fill that out and get you ready to go. So you can find the Locked On Bracket Breakdown now on Locked On College Basketball Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. All right, we've got a look here, a look back actually at the weekend. My top 10 observations from the Big Ten over the weekend. Always like to share those with you guys. So that's coming up in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Hey, when you're hiring for a small business, and I've been in offices, I've had to hire people. I always kind of cringe when we got to hire new people, because now I got to stop doing my job and I got to start collecting resumes and interviewing people, and it takes forever. Make it easy. LinkedIn Jobs. If you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, that's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Hiring is easy when you have so many qualified candidates that LinkedIn Jobs brings you. In fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn shows that small businesses, they know that small businesses are wearing all these hats, doing all these different things. And maybe you don't have the time or the resources to go ahead and hire somebody. So they make it very easy. Do you know that 2.5 million businesses use LinkedIn for hiring? You should too. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com purdue.edu/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get to it here. I always like to put up my observations from the weekend. I call them our Big Ten top 10 observations. See if your list matches mine. I know a lot of you are sitting around watching a lot of Big Ten tournament basketball, so I'm going to put this up on screen. If you're listening on audio only, I will try to describe it as best I can. At number 10, I put Zach Edey on here, even though Purdue didn't make it to the championship. Zach Edey becomes Purdue's all-time scorer. So his last game in the Big Ten tournament, he broke the scoring record at Purdue. He owns that. He's number one. Basically owns everything right now at this point. Let's continue here at number 9. Let's give a shout out to Indiana's Anthony Leal. He's a senior. He doesn't play much, but he's a smart kid, former Mr. Indiana basketball. And he was in the game against Penn State in the second round of the Big Ten tournament, and Malik Renew missed a shot, and Leal was right there. He fought around the box out and put the putback back in with 7 seconds to go. It was the winning basket for the Indiana Hoosiers, their final win of the season. Let's see. We've got at number 8, Ohio State, Jake Diebler. Just mentioned that he gets the job now. I think that's awesome. That was the right move by Ohio State to go ahead and give him the job. He really took a tough situation. The team was in the doldrums and fired their head coach, Chris Holtmann, and he got him turned around immediately and won. So we're going to give him a shout out here when it was announced that he got the head coaching job in a 5-year deal at that. So that's good. At number 7, a shout out for Nebraska and their 3-pointers. They made 14 versus Indiana in the quarterfinals, 12 in the first half. On fire. And again, I told you earlier, if Nebraska keeps this up, they can keep shooting like this, they are going to be tough to beat. They're going to get their first win ever in the NCAA tournament. All right. At number 6, I want to give a shout out to Wisconsin's AJ Storr. He hit a career high 30 points in the quarterfinal game against Nebraska. Very impressive. Got up to 30. All right. And number 5, I want to give a shout out to Wisconsin's Max Klesmit. He had a bucket with 4.8 seconds to go to beat Purdue in overtime of the semifinals. So a couple different Wisconsin shutouts here in the middle of our list. And number 4, more Wisconsin. Overall, shout out to them. Their overall 3-pointing was remarkable in the Big Ten tournament. They could not hit the side of a barn with the 3-point. They went cold as ice like February and the first half of March. And then they go into the Big Ten tournament and they start hitting threes left and right. And it got them to the championship game. It did. It really did. Illinois, Terrence Shannon Jr. Can put him at number 3. He scored a Big Ten tournament record 40. He put a 40 on Nebraska in the semifinal. Congratulations to him. Guess what? He also made number 2 because he had 34 points and 15 of 17 free throws versus Wisconsin. So I'm giving him a couple of shout outs at a couple of different games. And then at number 1, we're going to just the shout out to Illinois altogether. They won the Big Ten championship tournament. Purdue got the regular season, but Illinois won the tournament. So congratulations to them. There'll be a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. So congratulations. Those are my top 10 observations or Big Ten top 10 over the weekend. And glad to share those with you. See what you think. The same as yours? Different order? Maybe. We do that every single Monday throughout all of our seasons. Hey, in the meantime, there are many ways for you to reach out to me and hit us up. First of all, Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten number 10. Also, comments on YouTube. Again, thank you, as we just reached 1 million views on this channel for Lockdown Big Ten. Thank you very much for all of you out there, you everydayers as well. Don't forget our website, talkbig10number10.com. You can hit us up there as well. And all of our podcasts are archived there. Plus, there's ticket information, there's merch you can buy, all that stuff right there. talkbig10number10.com. Be sure to subscribe. If you would help us out, that would be great. Click it, subscribe. You're in with us, and it helps us, and you're good to go. It's free. And nothing else is required of you at that time. So click it right before you leave us. Or, hey, when this is done, watch another Locked On Big Ten episode. Always invite you to do that. You can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it's available each and every day. Locked On has also launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. I invite you to check that out as well. We're going to have a very busy week. We're keeping an eye on spring football, but it's March Madness, man. We're going to have a lot of basketball, men's and women's, coming up this week, and invite you to tune in each and every day and tell your friends about us that we're here for you. Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you next time.